What if I told you that this is a complete sound studio? Well, quite literally, it is in a way. This is a mixer, recorder, sound processor, effect master, it's a RODECaster Pro 2 and it's cool. Looking for affordable Windows or Office keys? Look no further, I got you covered. Head over to scdkey.com, pick your Windows edition, use my discount code LE25 to get a 25% on any Windows or Office products. Once you complete your order, after a few seconds you will receive your code. In Windows, go to Settings, there should be an Activate Windows prompt at the bottom. Click that, enter your code and wait for Windows to finish activation. To check the activation status, use the command prompt with the command slmgr.vbs/xpr and you should receive a notification that the machine is permanently activated. Once again, use code LE25 at scdkey.com. Okay, enough with the silly rhymes. This is a complete studio solution for content creators, podcasters, gamers and musicians as well. Let me explain a bit more what it is. At a first glance, it might look intimidating and a complex device, but in essence, it's a very simple and helpful device that will speed up and help you for all your audio production needs. At the front, you can see that it has 6 volume faders, 4 headphone knobs, one master knob that is called the rotary encoder, and it's actually a multifunctional wheel to say. Large 5.5-inch touchscreen with haptic feedback function. This part here is called smart pads and I will explain to you what these do because they can do a lot of things. And above every fader there are microphone setting buttons. And below every fader you can see solo and mute buttons, and of course a big recording button as well. So this was the front of the device. Let's check out what it hides at the back. One power button and USB-C power connector. This is for the included power brick. Next to it there is a micro SD card slot, one LAN port, 2 USB-C ports and I will explain why, 4 TRS headphone jacks, 2 TRS balanced monitor, and by that I mean studio speakers aka monitors, and 4 Neutrik Combo XLR Plus line-in jacks. This means that you can connect XLR mics and also instruments via the line inputs. Underneath it there is a VESA mount and also a tripod mount. Okay, now that you know what it has in terms of hardware, let me show you what it can do. Inside there is a quad-core processor, which is responsible for executing various effects and processing that it can do without a delay and also without noise, because it has Revolution preamps which offer ultra-low noise at only -131.5 dBV, and above all they also offer 76 decibels of clean gain. This in return means that you need no cloud lifters or microphone boosters if your mic needs more power. For example, Shure SM7B is known to be a power-hungry mic, not an issue for RODECaster Pro 2. So essentially, what the heck does this device do, one might wonder? Well, it takes care of all your sound processing in real time. And why is that good thing, you might ask again? Let's say you are having a podcast or a live stream. You need as much as processing offloaded from your computer, so it does exactly that. If you're a content creator, you know that for every video or podcast show you need to process your sound and fine-tune it to sound better at the end. The RCP2 does that for you, so you are saving a lot of time. For example, you can have up to 4 microphones connected directly to it, a phone or remote guests, either via Bluetooth or via the secondary USB cable. Also, you can separate your chat apps, for example, in a gaming session, or again, remote guests via Zoom, for example. And each input can have a separate processing applied to it. Let me walk you through the menu and I will explain what each effect does later and how it actually helps you get the better audio. By the way, once you turn it on for the first time and when you connect it to the internet, there might be a firmware update. Do not skip this step, update it, as firmware updates bring a lot of improvements and new functions to it. Alright, this is the RCP2 screen. In the upper right corner you can enter the settings menu. The menu is divided in 6 parts: faders, outputs, smart pads, display, show and system. Faders allow you to configure each input to a physical fader in the order you want, and you can also have 3 virtual faders. So this gives you a total of 9 possible inputs that you can use on the RCP2. In the outputs menu, you have the option to configure headphones, and there is a predefined preset for Rode NTH100 headphones. Again, you can set each of the 4 headphone outputs. Monitor settings allow you to have an auto mute for the speakers once you start speaking to your microphone, so you can avoid that annoying microphony reverb. Or you can turn this off and hear sound on your speakers as you speak. Routing is actually a pretty nice thing to have on such a device, as this allows you to exclude certain inputs from the main mix, useful when you are recording something, for example gaming session, but you want to record only your mic and not the sound from the game. This way you can use mix minus function to exclude gaming sound from the main recording. In the listen menu, you can set what you hear in your headphones, as it says post or pre-fader sound. Multitrack settings allow you to set either stereo or multitrack recording capabilities of the RCP2. If you enable multitrack, it will record each channel separately in, of course, separate audio files, including a main mix with everything in a single file. Processing settings contains the legendary Aphex Master Compiler compressor, which will tighten the whole mix together, meaning it will keep all the sounds at the same level in layman terms. There is also an output delay if you route the audio to the OBS, for example, and you need to set a delay so everything will be in sync. Smart pads menu, this is where things get interesting. As I said, it has 8 smart pads, but these are 8 pads in 8 banks, so 64 possible functions. These can include funny sounds, various effects such as voice changing effects, robot sounds, echo and reverb, for example, but it can also be programmed to send MIDI functions to your computer. My knowledge of MIDI functions is pretty slim to none, so honestly I can't explain this further than you can use MIDI functions to send commands to the PC to do certain stuff, and this is where this SmartPad sound is appropriate for this one. Okay, let's check out some cool effects you can do with the SmartPads. So you can see that I'm recording this solely on this device, it's not connected to the computer, so you can record as well in that mode. But let's check out how the echo sounds, for example, or the reverb. Or if I do this, this will change my voice.
So my voice is now disguised.
Of course, I can sound like this, it's funny, or not.
I can sound like a robot, or
I can talk through the megaphone. But yeah, exactly. You can of course tweak all these effects in the SmartPads menu. Just tap here and you can change, for example, echo effect, just edit that, and you can granularly set every effect. Sorry, this was enabled, so you can granularly set all this. You can set the level of the echo, so it's a little echo or large echo. You can set the delay, decay and everything, so you can also change the megaphone settings here, for example. I am now talking. See, you can disable. You can have tied effects as well. That's a nice thing. So you can have megaphone and echo at the same time, and reverb as well. This is insane. Okay, we just need megaphone for now. So you can set the intensity of the megaphone with the rotary encoder. So it's a small megaphone. It's not a megaphone anymore. We can have the robot effects. Let me turn this on.
so it's a large robot, medium robot, or the small robot.
Cool. This is the voice disguiser, so
Enable that, and now my voice is disguised. So, yeah.
And this is the pitch shifter. Of course, you can set this to the finer granulation,
or you can
Set this to sound like this. So, there you go.
So you can add your own effects to the SmartPads, for example, this, or it's a cool little shenanigans, like a laser, or this, or yeah. It also comes with some effects pre-installed, like a music pad, so if you're running a podcast, for example, you can have your intro, outro, you can of course control this using the faders, so there's that. Of course, this is also funny, or this, or you get the idea. Display settings, well, these are pretty self-explanatory. This is where you can set brightness of the display itself, but also for the RGB buttons as well, or set dimming function when nothing is pressed for a certain time. In the metering settings, you have the ability to set it to show broadcast levels. This is actually pretty useful, so you can visually see at how much decibels is your gain actually set on each fader. Haptics allow you to have vibration feedback when you press something on the screen. In the rack button settings, you can choose what a single press does to the button, so it can either pause or stop after the rack is pressed. Okay, show settings. This is where you can give a name and choose the icon for your show. Basically, if you run multiple podcasts, for example, each show can have different settings for the smart pads, microphones, and so on. So you don't have to dial those settings each time you start your recording. Just change the show and boom, your settings follows. In the recordings, you can listen to your recordings and you have basic editing functions as well. System settings. Here you can connect it to the internet for the firmware updates, either via Wi-Fi or LAN port. This is where you configure the Bluetooth as well, enable MIDI control, set date and time, language, and you can also manually check for the firmware updates. Also, if you need help with it, scan the QR code for the user guide. It's hard to explain the little details, this video can get pretty lengthy then. Okay, so here is the good stuff. I mean, I had to show you the menu as it's necessary to set everything properly before you begin your recording. Above each fader there is a microphone setting button. Once you press it, you can choose a predefined mic preset for a bunch of popular Rode mics, but also for the legendary Electro Voice RE20 and Shure SM7B, as those are very popular broadcast mics. Also, you can choose if it's a line or instrument input as well. With the selected mic preset, Rode made sure that this is how they sound best using the Vox Lab preset. You can of course tweak this to your liking, because not everyone's voice is the same. So using the depth, sparkle and punch settings with the rotary encoder button, what this does, it tweaks a bunch of processing effects all at once to give you a desired outcome for your specific voice type. Alternatively, you can press the advanced button and this will bring a bunch of specific Aphex processing settings. Rode acquired the Aphex brand years ago. For each effect you see here, there was a hardware device. So imagine how much would this cost you if you had to buy each device separately. And how actually RCP2 is powerful. Okay, when you enter the advanced menu, this is where things get more serious, but for a reason, and by paying attention to each of it, you can make your voice sound professional and clean in no time, thus completely avoiding sound processing in the post. Ever since I started using the RCP2, I no longer edit my sound. This saves me at least 20 minutes for each video. Okay, in the advanced menu you have high pass filter. This will remove all the unnecessary parts of the sound, primarily humming and low noises such as AC, computer fans and similar. Next item is the de-esser. This removes C and S words from sounding too harsh. Noise gate will do as the name suggests. It will open and close the sound gate at the desired level, so once it closes, no sound will pass through it. This is used to remove the background noise from your recordings completely. Compressor is a very useful tool and I did not pay attention to it before, but basically it compresses your sound so everything is at a certain level, I mean same level. For example, if you talk louder at some parts of your recording, the compressor will kick in and lower the volume of that part so it will match everything else in the recording. You can of course set each parameter in detail using the rotary encoder, and this goes for all processing effects. Next item is the EQ, and this is for me one of the most important ones, even though it's a basic 3-point EQ, but what it does for me is that a first part amplifies my low end, so my voice is sounding fuller. Second part actually removes the reverb from my rooms or the echoing sounds. And this is the best thing that you can do for any recording. For the voice over parts, for instruments, adding a reverb can be actually a good thing. Third part actually tames my high end. The oral exciter and the big bottom, legendary effects, but with a funny name, gives richness and presence to your voice. And you also have a stereo panning function as well. In the effects parts of the mic setting, you can add echo or reverb effects to your mic, and of course you can completely turn off all the processing if you do not want to use it for some reason. This is where you can set the gain or the input volume of your mic and turn on and off the phantom 48 volts for the XLR mics. As mentioned in the beginning, 76 decibels is the max gain you can set on the RCP2. This is literally awesome because there is no need to use microphone boosters or the cloud lifters. Let's say that most of the audio interfaces on the market go to 50 decibels as the max gain, but Rode is upping the gain with 76 decibels, and this is also clean gain, meaning there is no noise at all even at max gain, thanks to the Revolution preamps. In the mic settings, you can also tie together two inputs to create a stereo pair, and you can pick color for each mic pad as well. This is useful if you're using Rode color IDs for mics and headphones, so you know which mic goes where and you can easily control them. Everything can be controlled and set via the Rode Central app. For some this might be easier, for some it might be not, but it is useful to add more sounds to the smart pads, for example, or to transfer your recordings to the PC. I did mention that it has two USB ports. One is the main one used to connect to your PC, and the other one you can use to connect an SSD for redundant recording to it and the SD card at the same time. Also, this is where you can connect a second PC, for example. If you are streaming a game from it, you can also connect a phone directly to this port as well. Both iOS and Android devices are supported natively. If you are running a podcast with multiple guests in the studio and remote guests as well, you can have an isolation mode. For example, you can only talk and hear certain inputs, so you do not disturb the other people on the show. Useful if you need to prepare a remote guest or quickly tell something to one of the guests. So you just press listen and mute buttons at the same time on the input one, and same on the desired input for that person. Neat function. The RODECaster Pro 2 is the world's most powerful all-in-one audio production solution. It's loaded with cutting-edge next-gen features and supercharged by a high-performance quad-core audio engine, I mean the CPU inside it. It delivers next-level audio for any content creation application, including streaming and gaming, podcasting and music production as well. And with regular firmware updates, Rode is constantly adding new features and fixes many bugs. Currently it's on 1.07 version, and so far many bugs are fixed, so props to Rode for the amazing support. When you look at this device as a complete audio solution, the amount of features it offers that are only available as a separate hardware devices, the asking price of $700 sounds a bit too much. But trust me, this is by no means a gimmicky device. The all-in-one sound solution is true, just count how many features it has and how much would you need to pay for some of them separately. The price easily goes above 4 figures, so if you look at it this way, $700 is okay price then. Still too much, but a fair price. You can of course get it cheaper on occasional sales, and also you can check the RCP1, the OG model, that goes for around $450 now. Still a great device, and if you are wondering is the upgrade worth from it to the version 2, I have to say that it is. If you made it this far, thank you guys for watching. This is literally one of my longest and hardest reviews so far, and trust me, I have just scratched the surface, because the RCP2 is capable of much more and it's truly an amazing device. I'll just put this RCP2 cover on it and call it a day. If you guys have any questions, I would be more than glad to answer them. So once again, thanks for watching, hit that like if you liked the video, sub to the channel for more future content, and I'll see you in the next one.